Tara, it is so nice to meet you. I wish we were meeting face to face to have this conversation, but this is the next best thing. Thank you so much for talking to me. And I got to say, thanks to the CCMA for this, because it is so important that we are shining a light on the queer members that exist within the country music community. So, like, awesome. This is great. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here to chat with you today.
I'm so excited. I think first and foremost, since we never have connected in person, I would love to know, where did your love of music come from? Like, when did you first pick up that guitar?
Well, let's go back a handful of years here. So when I was a kid, I'm just gonna dive right into the queer thing. I immediately felt a lot different than other people. And one of my uncles actually played guitar, and my family is so non-musical. And I just thought it was such an interesting thing that he could grab it around a campfire, because, you know, we all are a bunch of Canadian people.
Yeah.
And everybody could sing along and enjoy themselves, and it shifted up a party. And I wanted to do that. And as soon as I got my first guitar, I realized how much I needed my first guitar, and how much of that feeling different energy I actually put into it. And you know, when you're a kid and you're growing up and you feel like the hide in your bedroom and be like, what is happening? Why am I so different? And I feel like I've noticed that a lot of queer people become very talented. And I think that part of it, is that those formative years where they just poured that energy into something creative and artistic, or anything that could bring them that level of, okay, I feel good here. I feel comfortable mostly.
Yeah.
And so, man, I just really fell in love with the instrument, and I relied on it a lot. And when I was in my early 20s, I joined a heavy metal band called Kitty. And so I spent years in that band traveling, and I'm from small town Ontario. And I got to see the world with that band. Yeah. And so, that brought me all these different perspectives, and that the metal community is actually like a pretty misunderstood community. It is a very mostly open-minded community, and I really feel like I did start to musically find my people there, and it was all, it was guitar.
Yeah, you're right when you hit on that. You mentioned, like, I think there's certain notions that people have about genres, like you said, like rock. A lot of my friends, some of my best friends, come from that world. And being a queer person, I worked in country music for 12 years. Before that, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't grow up on country music. That's not what my parents listened to. It's not like I didn't hear Dolly Parton once in a while. But that is not what I was raised on. So moving from rock to country, how did that happen? Like, were you always a fan of country music?
No, I actually had the exact same experience as you. Like, it was around. It wasn't being played in my household growing up. So I probably had some misconceived notions about the genre as a whole before I started playing in it. And I just happened to get linked up with Nice Horse. I guess it's like 3 or 4 years ago now. And they just needed a guitar player. And I was pretty hesitant.
Where did that hesitation come from, though? Was it just kind of your own notions of what country music is?
It was this horrible feeling that if they did take me on, things would go not as well for them as a group. But I also, again, I had those preconceived notions. I didn't see myself as having a place in country music. And so I wasn't sure that I would be welcomed, or that I would really feel comfortable in it. And I'm too old to do anything that's really uncomfortable.
Well, now that you're in the industry, we're going to talk about Nice Horse, of course. I'm a fan. High school is so great. We're going to hit on that later. But now that you're in the community, do you realize that there are more queer people than you think within the country music genre?
100%.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of them, the ones a little bit older, have had to remain closeted for their career. And I think that there's a whole lot more than people realize, but they don't feel like they're able to really be themselves, which is unfortunate. But country music seems to be maybe just about 10 years behind a lot of things. And things do change slowly. So I do know quite a few out artists as well, which was, that was really shocking to me when I first started playing country music, because I just thought this wasn't a space for queer people.
Yeah.
And there are queer people here. And I think if we can look down into the States, I think Brandy Carlisle has done a lot for the country music community and the queer community, bringing them together and saying, like, this is just normal. This is just how some people are.
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah.
And what about, I know you kind of hit on, finding yourself through being in that rock kind of scene, but when it came time to come out, what was your coming out experience like? Like, I have a lot of friends whose parents did not accept it. I am very grateful and blessed in the way that my parents were so supportive. To this day, I believe that has kind of pushed me in my own career and my future, just having that support. But what was your coming out story?
So it's an interesting question, because I feel like I've had 20 years of coming out. When I meet new people, it's just like, just comes with saying, like, I'm Tara and this is who I date. And it's sometimes it's kind of funny because we're not there yet where it's just doesn't really matter. But I actually came out before I started with Kitty, and it was at the end of high school, and it wasn't a great experience. No, small town. Like, the real story is I told a couple friends, and two of my best friends, and then one of them did that, and then the other, we really bonded together because she was really supportive of me, and that was, that's what everybody needs, one of those. But as far as my family goes, like, my little brother's gay. Like, nobody cares. In my family, it's a non-issue. It's just kind of like what you said. Yeah, I didn't really have to come out. I just brought my first girlfriend home, and that was that. It was, I appreciate it. The older I get, the more stories I hear, the more I realize how insane, how that is just not the typical standard experience. And like, my family, aunts, uncles, no parents, they couldn't care less. It's a non-issue.
I love that. And something that I love and I'm seeing more of is, teenagers and kids really owning who they are at such a young age. And that is so powerful for their future. Like, when I see a 10-year-old be like, I am trans, I love that. And that means that there is progress within the world and the queer community, but there is still work to be done, of course. For sure. What do you love about country music? There's a lot of party songs, there's a lot of, truck songs, but, when people used to be shocked and be like, wow, you're queer and you work in country music, do you actually like country music? And I'm like, hell yeah, I love country music. There is so many great artists out there. And I would always say it's like any genre of music. There's stuff you'll think is total garbage, and there's stuff that is just like nothing you've ever heard before. So why do you connect with country?
well, I'm a guitar player first and foremost, and there are some insanely good guitar players in this genre. That is like, some would say like those are the like metal and country music have some of the most skilled, top-notch players that you will ever see. Some of the stuff that you look at, like, I just don't know how it just does not compute. So there's that. But another thing that I really like about it is that you actually can talk about your feelings in this genre. The three chords and the truth, you know, that really, really hits for me, is you can go deep. And does it like the men do it? Yeah. There's women, men. It's not a gendered thing. It's the men are talking about their feelings just as much as the women are, which I think is obviously super important.
100%. You know, the words queer and country music really don't go hand in hand at this point still. We're laughing about it, but it's true, they really don't. Do you feel like you are almost bringing a new wave of, you know, queerness to the Canadian country music scene? Because there have been up and comers like you mentioned, Brandy, you know, TJ Osborne recently came out, which is incredible. We have like Orville Peck, you know, Trixie Mattel. So,
oh, I love her.
I love Trixie too. We're going to talk about her in a second, but you really are being part of something that is, you know, and that's representation, and that is so important. Do you feel that yourself sometimes when you're on stage? Do you feel that, or do you just play music and that's kind of where you end it, you know?
I mean, I guess I've never really considered that, because I am so new to actually playing country music. Yeah. And I'm not sure how many people actually are aware that I am gay. So I don't feel that yet, but I'm super happy to be participating in the change in country music towards acceptance, if that's what, especially young kids, if that's what young kids are going to get out of this. I think that you kind of touched on representation there. It really is the most important key to change and to normalize. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple bands that I'm not sure why they do this or whether they know, but, you know, I'll just name a couple: Prairie States and Dungarees. They changed their logos during Pride to the rainbow logo. And they are a group. They are two groups of all straight white dudes.
Yeah.
That alone, that tiny move that they do, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Just as a declaration of support. And I think that that's just one of those little steps to get us to where we need to be, where it's a non-issue.
Yeah. I think there's almost, you know, listen, like I mentioned, I worked in country for 12 years. And I never once encountered, at least to my face, anyone who had an issue with my sexuality. Now, obviously, I present as a, you know, I'm a cis white man. I'm not, you know, so I didn't always put myself out there. I wish I may have more and made it a bigger part of me. I felt like at times I was trying to tone myself down just because I did want to fit in. And that's a regret of mine. But, you know, I was always open with people. People knew I was gay within the industry. Have you ever encountered any kind of discrimination because of your sexuality? Has that ever come up for you?
Not right to my face, but, you know, because people, like you, I can present as a cisgendered female. Just a couple jokes from people who didn't really realize who they were in the presence of, but nothing outwardly hateful. But those jokes, now I'm too old to care about them, but I remember being a kid, it was very, very impacting.
Yeah. How do you think that the Canadian country music scene can kind of turn a page and be more inclusive of queer artists? Like, for example, I love that the Calgary Stampede has a Pride Day. Like, that is progress for me. You know what I mean? Because a lot of country festivals don't do that. They put on Pride shows, and that is amazing. I love the Calgary Stampede for that. But how do you think we can kind of continue this conversation about queer people in Canadian country music and continue to promote these artists?
More of that, those events, and more, because you know what that brings in? It brings in people fans who didn't realize they had a place in country music, who may have neglected the genre because they wouldn't have felt safe or welcome at a show. And so those events are obviously really important. I think it's wise to be highlighting artists as well for the swing back around to representation. But again, the support from the other artists. I think Brett Kissel does a lot of support for the queer community. I'm under that impression. And he's a cisgendered male who plays some
country boy.
Country boy. That goes a long way, because imagine how many of his fans have seen him show that support, and he's probably changed a lot of minds.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. You know, there are so many people, like somebody like Jess Moskaluk, you know, sometimes she'll text, we'll talk about RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff. Like, there is that support there. There's those people who really do support, but I think we do need more people talking about it. But I think a lot of people are afraid, which is sad, even in 2021, that it may hurt their career, you know, and that's just, it kills me inside, because I'm like, I know you support the LGBTQ plus community, so like, say it, you know, but there's that fear there, you know?
I think that sometimes it's just the awareness to these artists and letting them know, like, it's okay to show your support. I think that sometimes part of the hesitation can be people don't want to be bandwagon jumpers all the time, and I think reaching out to the straight community in saying, it's important, and it's okay to step up. And if you lose fans over that, did you really want those fans?
Well, that's a very great question. You know what I mean? Like, do you?
I don't.
Well, I don't either. I'm not a country musician, but I don't either. We hit on TJ Osborne earlier, and, you know, like, listen, he is the first, like, country artist to come out that is signed to a major label. And when you say that in 2021, it sounds ridiculous, because you look at pop music and there are queer artists everywhere. But for him to come out when that band, you know, Brothers Osborne, are at the top of their game, that is powerful. What did you think when you saw that news that he had come out?
Well, obviously I was super happy, because a queer loves a queer. But, you know, I am a really big fan of that band. I just thought they are probably hands down my favorite band in country. And and I don't think I was shocked, because one of the reasons why I knew about them was hearing an interview with them, and I was really interested in what they had to say. I thought that they sounded like extremely open-minded fellows, and so I really wanted to check out their music because of that, and I did, and it just turns out that they are like, their music blows me away.
They're incredible. They're incredible.
Guitar playing is like, hey, come on, dude.
They're incredible. There is that whole scene there, though, down in Nashville, and that's like Brothers Osborne and like Casey Musgraves, of these people
seem to have just like grouped themselves together in their little club of, you can take a hike if you don't like it. I love to see that. And I read his statement, it was really interesting for him to say, like, this has not been a problem for me.
Yeah.
It's just I haven't publicly stated that I've been living as a gay man, like,
yeah,
life obviously, but as an out gay man for a very long time, this is just didn't seem like an issue. And I think yeah, it speaks to the beauty of that group that he obviously has in Nashville, is that it's a non-issue.
Non-issue, and that's the way it should be. This is a vague question, but what does pride mean to you?
I think that it means showing off who you really are. And hopefully we're approaching one of the last generations who will have to say something like this, but for me, it's finally being proud of the thing that I hated the most about myself and that gave me the most struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, it's taken a lot of time.
It does take time. And it's funny you say that, because even for me myself, I felt like I was hiding something for a long time in fear that I would not get to the place I want to be in my career. But when in actuality, when I actually owned who I am, that's really when my career took off. And I think that's important to remind people that sometimes, these issues or things that you think are going to happen really aren't issues. Like you said, coming out to your family, not everybody's family is going to be like that, but it was a non-issue. So it's just own who you are.
Yeah, it's also wild if, like, I'm sure you could feel this way if you could go back and talk to your kid and say, this is going to be celebrated about you one day. You're like, no way, absolutely not.
It's funny. It's funny because I think about that a lot. But like I said, I love that there are so many queer kids who are just owning it earlier. And that means that there is progression, and it's happening. We mentioned Trixie Mattel earlier, who you love, and the Calgary Stampede. So I know you played a show with Trixie. Tell me about that experience, because I saw on your Instagram or somewhere that you said that that was one of your favorite shows ever.
Hands down. So I was really stoked because I was playing in country music and my bandmates are all straight cis women. And I was like, just wait, like the crowds will love us because they're so supportive, especially of strong women. I know, and I was like, this is going to be an amazing show. Not only because Trixie was there, but because there was like the queer community there. I saw cowboys holding hands. I saw some people who looked like they stumbled out of a metal show. Like one guy was wearing a black metal shirt. I was like, oh man, that's so awesome. I love that band. And he was like, oh, cool, me too. And I said, why are you here? And he said, because I also love country music. I was like, that's awesome. And so, yeah, it was like, we were just lit on fire that show. We had a blast. And then on top of that, we got to play in Trixie's backing band, which was, good Lord, she is so talented.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I wrote her after, be like, your acoustic guitar playing is so good. Like your finger picking is amazing. And I had actually, like, this just goes to show you the person that Trixie is. How many followers do you think she has on social media? Countless.
Like, yeah, millions.
Countless. I heard her on a podcast talk about her queer experience as a young person.
Yeah.
And I wrote her to say, oh my goodness, I know I felt so connected to you when you were speaking about that. I know exactly how you were feeling. That was so close to home what you were talking about. And she actually wrote back, was like, oh, of course, I knew I liked you. I love all the lesbians.
That's very Trixie. That is very Trixie, and I love it. That is exactly something she would say. Pride is going to look so different this year. Again, I really miss going to Pride festivals. How will you celebrate Pride kind of in this virtual space?
Oh, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. I'll probably be being me, my gay old self.
Well, that's just it. Yes. I mean, listen, like, I think there's still things that, like posting on social media, just keeping the message of pride alive is so important, especially I'm really hoping that I'll see, Canadian country musicians show their support this year. It is so important. Yeah. 2020 and 2021 has been a pivotal time for change,
That was my joke answer. And here now is my within the Nice Horse crew, because we've been off the road, we started a lifestyle brand, and the first thing that we released on that was a podcast. And the second thing was a line of t-shirts, and we put out 6 designs, wanted to see which one hit. It's called Be Nice Nation, the whole lifestyle brand. And one of the t-shirts just says be nice, and nice is in the rainbow. And Nice Horse has a heavy reach into the country music community. Mm-hmm. Guess what our best seller was out of those 6 shirts? Our Pride shirt. Yeah. And so for Pride Month, we are partnering with a queer artist out of Vancouver, and we'll make a line of t-shirts where 100% of the profits are going to go to a charitable organization for the LGBTQ+.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me one of those shirts.
Yeah, you can feel good, and
I will rock that shirt. You mentioned Nice Horse, and before we started chatting, I told you how much I love the track High School. The video is so much fun. The song is fantastic.
Did you know that Brandy and Krista made the video?
Oh, I didn't know.
They didn't sleep for a month. And yes, they did. The 2 of them made the video. It is amazing. Yeah.
They may have a future career of directing other country music videos, because it's awesome. Like, I haven't seen a fun video like that in quite some time. Like, it's great. If you could go back to high school, what would you tell your high school self?
Oh, this is pretty cliche. Remember the It Gets Better campaign?
Yeah.
I'd say that.
It does get better.
This feels like a very long 4 years. It's nothing.
Yeah. Many people out there see you and look up to you and what you're doing in this Canadian country music scene. What advice would you give to the younger generation of queer musicians who are, like, again, maybe thinking, oh, I shouldn't do country music, even though that's something I love? Like, what advice would you give to them to move forward in their career?
Oh, I would absolutely tell them to just play the music that speaks to their soul and their heart. And if that happens to be country music, then don't worry about it. There will be a place for you. The progression is coming. It may be a little slow in this genre, but it is coming.
It is coming.
Yeah, to absolutely see it through. Don't switch genres just because you don't feel like you have a place here. There will be a place. And there is a place. Yeah.
There is a place. You're absolutely right. There is a place. Like I said, I worked in country music for 12 years, and it was a family. Like, I never faced any kind of discrimination because of who I am. And I think, again, that's just a notion that a lot of people have built up in their minds. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to listen to country music, first of all. Like, give it a listen, because there is some incredible stuff out there.
Yeah. And there's still work to do, but you'd be surprised at how open-minded the fans are. There's a place for you at a country music show.
Absolutely. And you head down to Nashville, and there's a huge gay scene there. I've been to the drag bars there. I've been to the queer kind of country bars there. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, this was super fun, Tara. I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet you in person one day because I think we would have some fun and maybe cause some trouble together.
Yes, I think that's very likely.
Probably likely.
Yeah, wait till you meet the other three. Woo!
I want to. I'm going to come someday to a show. When the world opens back up again and you're in Toronto, I will be there. Thank you again so much for talking to me. And thanks again to the CCMA. I think it's so important that they are shining a light on the queer community during Pride Month. So thank you, CCMA. Thank you, Tara. And congrats on all the success.
Thank you so much.
Hold it for 1 second and see.